Hello, Pisces risings. Welcome to your monthly zodiac reading for the month of September 2025. This month is eclipse season, and so we are focusing on you guys and Virgo. So, as always, we are going to pull an overall energy theme. We will pull tarot for each week, discuss those messages, correlate those messages to the astrological transits, and then pull additional clarifying cards and get additional oracle guidance. So let's not waste any time. There's a lot happening this month. Let's see what Pisces risings need to know for the month of September 2025. The end of a tough cycle approaches. Okay. So that's really, really wonderful. We do have a full moon lunar eclipse coming up in your sign here in the second week. And full moons are a buildup of energy. They're a culmination of energy. It's kind of like it's where the manifestation of this buildup of energy begins to unfold, right? So it could be that this is what the eclipse in your sign is revealing, is that whatever the tough cycle that you're going through, the end is coming. The end is nigh, so to speak. That sounds much more like foreboding than what I think I actually meant it to. But, you know, the end of a tough cycle approaches. And right now, you guys have got the North Node in your sign. And that's kind of shifting and changing how you guys are meant to approach life, so to speak, especially if you actually have your North Node within your first house. If you don't, yes, you will still feel the impacts of this energy, but it may not hit you as heavy as it would others. That was too many all at once. It was pretty the way they flipped over, though. Here in the first week, strength in reverse, maybe feeling some doubt, some worry, not feeling very confident in yourself or your capability. Here in the second week, the sun in reverse, feeling a sense of melancholy, or like there's just a dark cloud hanging over your head. Maybe there's a lack of inspiration, which makes sense if there's a tough cycle that you're going through. The Knight of Cups in reverse. So the energy is very stagnant, and it could be because you're not pursuing what your heart is calling to you. I apologize for that brief interruption. I had the windows open because it's such a beautiful day and the lawn guys showed up. So I just wanted to make sure I closed the window so the noise did not interrupt us. But again, here in the third week, the Knight of Cups in reverse, the energy feels stagnant, maybe like it's not going anywhere, or feeling like, and it could be because you're not actually moving towards what's calling to your heart. And then the Six of Swords, you could be going back to something mentally, revisiting or replaying conversations or memories that are coming up for you, okay? So this is interesting. Of course, every card is in reverse, so this may mean that you guys, again, if you've been really feeling it, if you've been going through a tough cycle, the cards being in reverse makes sense. It means that the tough cycle itself is not at its final moment, but it is approaching and it could unfold throughout the rest of the month. So let's see. Oh, I didn't even, oh my gosh. Here in this first week, we've got Saturn retrograding back into your sign. This could be why this tough cycle is feeling very challenging. Saturn is boundaries, restrictions, time, karma. It represents our humanness, our humanity. So you guys, with it retrograding back into your first house, you could be feeling these things much more deeply than others. So Saturn is retrograding back into your sign the very first week, even the first day. Next, we have Mercury moving into the sign of Virgo. So the planet of thoughts, ideas, communication is moving into your 7th house. You guys could want to communicate maybe more towards things that have to do with intimate relationships, business partners, business contracts, long-term commitment in interpersonal relationships. You could be not feeling very confident in, like I said, yourself. I feel like this has more to do with maybe Saturn moving into your sign versus Mercury moving into your 7th house. This is when we will also have Uranus going retrograde within the sign of Gemini. Right now, Uranus is sitting in your 4th house. This is your house of home. This is really shaking things up. Maybe you guys are feeling prompted to move, like you're really wanting to just change things in your physical home. It could be bringing up things from your childhood, from your family, like your family roots, early childhood, things like that. Here in the second week, this is the week that we will experience the full moon lunar eclipse within your 1st house. Okay, so again, right here, you guys are not feeling very confident. I apologize. You're not feeling very happy. Like there's a black cloud that is kind of hanging or looming over you. Maybe there's a lack of inspiration. And it almost feels like there could be a sense of depression that's occurring. With everything being in reverse, there's like this sense of depression and just melancholy almost that's kind of looming. So just be mindful of that. If you're feeling that way, please try to find somebody to talk to. Even if it's me, reach out. I will help you the best way I can, or try to guide you to someone who can help you. Just work through this particular time. But here, this is when we will experience the full moon lunar eclipse in your sign. Full moons are a buildup of energy. They are a peak. It is when the energy begins to manifest itself for ultimately what is coming to an end. And this is your sense of self. It's almost like your entire sense of being is changing and it's shifting, and that can feel very, very challenging. Pisces, you guys have the tendency to take on the emotions of others and claim them as your own. Okay, so you want to make sure that the melancholy or the sense of depression that you're feeling, one, is not collective, because there's a lot of collective turmoil that's kind of going on right now, but also that it's not someone around you. Okay, so just make sure that you're grounding and clearing your energy on a regular daily basis. On the 13th, we will also experience a Sun-Mercury cazimi within the sign of Virgo. A cazimi is when the sun and another planet sit literally right on top of one another, and the sun's energy will amplify the themes and qualities of that planet. So with it being Mercury, it will have a lot to do with things like ideas, communication, and like your thoughts, and even messages, like receiving messages out of the blue. Okay, here in the 3rd week, the Knight of Cups in reverse, feeling like the energy is stagnant, maybe that it's not going anywhere, that it feels stuck. This is when we will have Mercury moving into the sign of Libra. Mercury, the planet of thoughts, ideas, communication, is moving into the sign of Libra, which is in your 8th house. This is your house of transformation. So if that's the case, if the energy within your 8th house is not going anywhere, it's definitely going to begin to feel like it's sticking, okay? But your 8th house is your house of transformation. It is your house of shared resources and intimacy and personal experiences, things that are true and personal for you. So it could feel like like I said, the energy is not going anywhere. Next week, on the 19th, we've got Venus moving into the sign of Virgo. Again, your 7th house. Maybe Venus moving into Virgo, you realize that your personal relationships, maybe you're not getting back what you're putting in. Or maybe you realize that you're taking on too much from your personal relationships and it's causing your energy to feel stagnant. Here in the last week, the Six of Swords in reverse, like I said, mentally revisiting something could be a conversation, could be words that were said, or just even physically going back to a situation that once caused you stress. This is when we will experience the new moon solar eclipse within the sign of Virgo on the 21st. So again, a new moon, a new opportunity happening within your house of relationships or interpersonal relationships, intimate relationships. You could be going back to a relationship, right? So we just want to make sure that if that relationship, going back to that relationship, that that's a good thing, that people have changed, and that we're not going back to an unhealthy situation. Mars will move into the sign of Scorpio on the 22nd. Mars is the planet of action, aggression, desire, power, and control. It is moving into the sign of Scorpio where he feels at home there. Traditionally, Mars rules Scorpio, so he feels very comfortable. This energy is moving into your 9th house. You could feel very driven to focus on things like higher learning, philosophy, spiritual and religious beliefs, and even culture. Maybe you're going back, maybe you're thinking, I want to go back to this place that I visited a long time ago. I really felt good there. Okay, you could be having those ideas stir in a strong desire to revisit something. On the 22nd as well, this is when we will shift into Libra season. Anytime the sun moves into a new season, the themes and qualities of that sign move into that season, or become center stage. This is when we will also experience the fall equinox. Okay, so that's going to happen on the 22nd. So let's see. Let's see what messages come out, because I feel like this is not the whole picture. Of course it's not, but there's something that we're missing, almost like a key piece of the puzzle to make it understand. The Five of Wands. Again, there's a lack of confidence here. There's a lack of confidence in your own capability. I do apologize if you heard the lawn guys and the weed eater. I really do. So 2 5s, definitely 5s represent challenge, change, and conflict. Here we've got Strength in reverse, like I said, which represents a sense of self-doubt, the ego and anxiety kind of taking charge versus you taking charge of it. More like the lion is frightening you versus you taming the lion, so to speak. And that really can also bolster, because there's a lot of challenges that you've experienced that maybe you just don't feel like you can overcome. It might be that there's been a lot of emotional challenges that you've been struggling to overcome, and maybe you're doubting your ability to do that, almost like you're fearing this is never going to end. I'm always going to feel this way, right? It could be that you're trying to heal, but for some reason you're latching on to these past disappointments and regrets that are occurring here with the Five of Cups. Okay? You can overcome this. You can move past this. And if you are sitting there reaffirming this is never going to end, then remember that our thoughts create our reality. Okay? Not saying that you're manifesting this or that you don't have a right to feel this way. You absolutely do. We want to acknowledge our emotions, but we don't want to stay there. We want to do what we can to accept it, to hold space for ourselves, to understand those feelings, and to ultimately move on. The North Node being in your sign is asking us to have faith in what we cannot see. It is asking us to have faith either in our spirituality or in our dreams, or to use our imagination to our benefit to help lift our mood, right? So it could be that maybe you guys are feeling really, really down, maybe feeling very doubtful that this tough cycle that you're in is never going to end and that you're always going to feel this way, but that's not the case. The end of this cycle is approaching, okay? Especially with Saturn being in your sign or retrograding back into your sign, you could just be feeling this weight of Saturn there, and eventually it will move on. I promise it will move on. Here in the second week, the Sun in reverse, the Six of Wands in reverse. So there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of worry. You're really in your head about whatever is happening. If this is a creative endeavor, you're not feeling very confident. It almost, again, it feels like the energy is stuck. And it's like the more you focus on it, the more you stay stuck, so to speak. Like that's how this feels. The more I focus on this, the more it stays stuck, and the more that I don't feel like I can move past it. Okay? So here with the Sun in reverse, feeling uninspired, feeling, like I said, just this overall sense of melancholy, not feeling very supported by those around you with the Six of Wands in reverse, and it's leading to a lot of insomnia and late nights, a lot of ruminating thoughts, a lot of repeating thoughts. And the thing about something my therapist has taught me is that there are three main things that will affect our mood dramatically: sleepless nights, or like sleep, sickness, and hunger. Those are three main like instinctual things and instinctual needs that will directly impact our mood. So if you're not getting enough sleep, it's almost like this lack of sleep is fueling this fire, so to speak. It's fueling this cycle. So you want to try and get as much sleep as you can. But this is again the week that you will experience the full moon lunar eclipse in your sign. So you could, with the full moon being in your sign, you guys could feel just very anxious. You could also feel like there's a big struggle to really get the sleep that you need. So rest and hydration is going to be imperative for you here in this second week. And remember, you are supported. You are supported. And again, if you feel like you're not, reach out to me and I will be your best hype girl. Okay? Here in the third week, the Knight of Cups in reverse, the Five of Swords, and the Hanged Man. So the energy is definitely not moving anywhere. It could feel like maybe, because we've got the Five of Swords here, which represents, again, another five. So this is more conflict. This is more like verbal conflict. It could be that maybe someone in your life is kind of like a love bomber. They're kind of, the actions they're taking towards you are kind of superficial. It's almost like there's somebody that says things that you want to hear. They kind of placate you, and they're not really sincere with their actions or their words, and it's causing an argument. It's causing you to maybe feel very quick and maybe combative even with your words. And if that's the case, like if you're wanting to lash out, take a pause with the Hanged Man. Take a pause and shift this perspective. Okay? So like I said, this could be you. You're the knight. You're feeling angry and resentful that things aren't moving anywhere, and maybe you're wanting to lash out towards others. Or this could be somebody in your life who you feel a little resentful towards because maybe their actions do not align with their words, or that their actions are not aligning with their intentions. But before you lash out, take a pause and think about what it is that you want to say. Here in the last week, the Six of Swords, the Ten of Wands, and the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, so the Ten of Wands is in reverse. You're almost like putting these putting this burden that you've been carrying down. And it could be that you're like, you know what? Like I said, it's almost like revisiting a conversation, or maybe you're physically going back to something, maybe physically going back to a place that requires travel, but you're physically going back to something, and it's almost like in doing so, it feels like this sense of relief, because now we've got the 10 of Wands in reverse, putting down this burden, putting down this very heavy baggage that you're carrying. And here with the 7 of Pentacles, this feels more like clarity and stability. And it almost feels like a deep understanding of what it is that you truly want to invest your time into. So if you're not taking action towards the things that your heart desires, because maybe you're feeling responsible towards other people, it could feel like you're not investing in the things that you value, and you're not tending to your own garden. You're tending to the garden of everyone else. And as a result, you're feeling emotionally drained. You feel like you're not able to take action towards what it is that you want, towards what it is that your heart is leading towards. And you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe even feeling a little resentful. But when you put that burden down, like, I am no longer going to carry these unnecessary responsibilities. They're not mine, and I don't want to do it anymore. And it could be that it gives you a chance to refocus on what it is that you want to grow and what you want to invest your time into. Let's see what the Oracle has to say. Unconscious games. So if you're feeling like I am not feeling very good about myself, I feel like I'm never going to overcome these obstacles or these challenges, like they just keep coming and I can't overcome them. What it is that it feels like your subconscious is playing games with you, and not intentionally. The subconscious, like our ego and fear, it wants to keep us safe. And if you're accustomed to going after challenge after challenge after challenge, if you're fearful of making the necessary changes that would occur or that need to occur so that you can step out of this feeling, step out of this emotion, the subconscious can try to self-sabotage that, right? Also, again, if you're in a connection, it could be that somebody around you is influencing that. I did say earlier, you guys, especially if you have prominent Pisces placements, you guys have the tendency to take on the emotions of others, and without even realizing it. And you think that they're yours. Okay, so just be mindful that the doubt that you feel, that the pity and the hanging on to the disappointment, that's not yours. Make sure that it's not yours before you allow yourself to stay in this emotion. If it is yours, then it's time to address that. It's time to do some self-reflective work and to really address what's missing in my life, or what do I feel like is contributing to this amount of stress. Confessions. What do you need to confess to yourself? What truths need to come out? Because a lot of us, when we approach things like eclipses, when we approach major life transitions, we can feel a call to make big changes, but we can ignore them. either due to fear or worry, concern, lack of confidence within ourselves, we can feel restricted in some way towards making those necessary changes, towards following and taking action towards what our heart is calling to us. But if we don't admit that to ourselves, it can overtake us and it can become very, very stressful. And the thing about eclipse season is that if you're not living in alignment, or if you're not kind of, what's the word? Not necessarily living in alignment, but more like eclipse season is going to add or remove things from your life to help get you back into the direction that you are meant to be going. All right. It's kind of like your cosmic chiropractor. It's going to readjust, it's going to realign, and it's going to try and get you straight. Okay. But this feels more like not necessarily confession from someone else, but this feels more like a self confession, like really being honest with yourself. Here in the third week, perfect moments. This Hanged Man is offering you a sense of stillness so that you can maybe reflect on, maybe practice a sense of gratitude. This is card number 28. 28 is 10. 10 represents the result of a completion. Okay. 2 is about choice, balance, and relationships. 8 is about personal growth and personal attainment. Every choice we make either creates balance or creates imbalance within our life. Find those perfect moments. Focus on what makes you happy. Take action towards what your heart wants and not so much what anybody else wants. Okay? Those perfect moments belong to you, and don't let anyone else take them from you. Tell it like it is. Like, look, we need to revisit this conversation because I'm done. I'm putting this down and I'm going to focus on what it is that I want to focus on. Okay? I genuinely feel like if you guys have been struggling, maybe the energy again you feel is not necessarily yours, but you're taking it on. You're taking on a lot of responsibilities that are not yours. You are taking on a lot of emotions that are not yours. And it may be because like you're wanting to make someone else happy. You feel like it's the right thing to do. You feel like you have no choice. Whatever the case may be, you always have a choice. You always have a choice to follow your heart, to find those perfect moments in your life, to be truthful with yourself, to no longer allow unconscious games to dictate how you move within each day. And you have the choice to tell other people, that's not my responsibility to carry. We have talked about this before. I'm putting this down and I'm going to focus on what it is that I want. Okay? So I truly hope this helped. I know that this is probably going to feel like a challenging month for you guys, but it is going to be wrapping up towards the end of the month. Again, if you need someone to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay? So I hope you guys have an incredible month and we will see you next time.